Hello there. It looks like Nicola Sturgeon's assault on free expression could well filter through to the rest of the UK, given time. Firstly, please subscribe and like this video to give my channel a boost, and I'm always uploading new content, so please do check back daily. Ever since these new Scottish laws were proposed to address what is termed as hate crime, I've been wondering how that could possibly operate only inside Scotland within the concept of the UK. And I put it down to the SNP just doing anything to be different to the rest of the UK in its quest for separation. And when I saw the extremely reasonable objections to it being made by very learned legal eagles, I did think it would end up in the legislative dustbin. But no, it is pressing ahead. And what's more, I get the uncomfortable feeling it's coming the way the rest of the UK very soon. I mean, how in one country can the same sentence potentially land you with a journalist contract in one area of the UK, but in the clink for hate crime in another? It just doesn't make sense to me. However, the presiding officer, the Right Honourable Ken Macintosh MSP, has stated that, in my view, the provisions of the Hate Crime and Public Order Scotland Bill would be within the legislative competence of the Scottish Parliament. Although I do have to wonder how they'd fit in with the current EU law that the SNP loves so much. However, there are growing concerns over this proposed law. The Scottish Solicitors' professional body, Law Society Scotland, calls this new law a significant threat to freedom of expression. And these proposed laws have also caused the birth of the campaign group Free to Disagree, which says, the Scottish Government's hate crime bill could criminalise speech merely because it is deemed offensive to certain people. Its proposed new stirring up hatred offences would curb free speech and have a chilling effect on debate over certain issues. This campaign was founded to stop this from happening. And having taken a look at the official explanatory notes, I can see their point. Free to Disagree also says, the SNP's Hate Crime and Public Order Scotland Bill has caused huge controversy in Scotland. Its many critics, which include the Scottish Police Federation and the Law Society, warn that vague and subjective stirring up of hatred provisions in Part 2 of the bill could undermine freedom of expression and curb debate around contentious issues. And Part 2 of the bill creates whole new crimes, with the official explanatory note saying, Part 2 creates offences of stirring up hatred against a group of persons based on the group being defined by reference to a listed characteristic. It also creates offences of possessing inflammatory material with a view to communicating the material in circumstances where there is an intention to stir up hatred or it is likely that hatred would be stirred up. This is, of course, music to the ears of the left. It gives them a nice and ambiguous law to use against their enemies. I find this leaflet offensive, is all they have to say, and you're toast. And the reach of this law looks like it could extend into all four corners of the UK, with Free to Disagree saying, although the hate crime bill is wholly rude legislation, its jurisdiction would extend to visitors to Scotland and publishers and broadcasters who are headquartered in other parts of the UK, but produce content north of the border. So where does that leave the BBC, ITV, social media, national and local newspapers, etc.? And some SNP activists might find the fruitier aspects of their campaigning for independence getting a little bit more difficult. Free to Disagree spokesman Jamie Gillies said, the hate crime bill contains broad provisions covering speech, writing and the possession of inflammatory material. Under the plans, speech and writing which is deemed abusive, that is rude and insulting, in regards to age, religion, transgenderism and other categories is liable to prosecution. Many are asking what this means for non-Scottish journalists, actors, comedians and others who operate north of the border. The vague drafting of the legislation suggests that these individuals could also be caught by the law. This raises the prospect of Scottish police officers arresting content creators outside Scotland. Journalists, writers and performers often focus on issues that are controversial and they air views that would be offensive to some people. Comedians in particular make a living from ridicule and offence. The idea that these people could be criminalised for doing so is deeply unsettling. Citizens in the rest of the UK should sit up and take notice. And the group also says that these new offences do not need any criminal intent on the part of the offender. Just the act alone is enough. That's actus reus without mens rea. In fact, mere possession of a leaflet could be enough. And now we get to the really interesting part. The Society of Editors, which fights for media freedom and has a UK-wide presence, has warned that any media organisation that publishes or broadcasts north of the border could find themselves caught up, or at the very least there will be a chill placed on their work. Looking to the future, there is also the risk that any draconian measures adopted by the Scottish Government will be taken up in other parts of the UK, particularly in England and Wales, where the Law Commission is currently consulting on a possible expansion in English hate crime law. Expansion of the law in this manner will make many areas of political discussion and investigation almost impossible. For example, Nigel Farage might be forced to abandon his current exposing of the extent of what is, to all intents and purposes, government-condoned illegal immigration into the UK. Everything he did would somehow find itself in front of Scottish prosecutors if they got just a whiff of it north of the border. Not because Farage is doing anything wrong, but because a new law could be interpreted so. And the list of classes of people protected by this law will be added to as groups self-identify as requiring protection. The Free Speech Union, headed up by Toby Young, said in a tweet, "If the hate crime bill passes, Scotland will become the most aggressive regulator of speech in the United Kingdom and one of the most belligerent in Europe, and it could easily become the basis of a similar law in England and Wales." And the FSU goes on to say that it's great that this proposed Scottish law gets rid of the old blasphemy laws, but then basically asks why it's then taken the worst of the blasphemy laws to codify back into Scottish law, saying, "We are, however, concerned that having abolished blasphemy in Clause 16, the bill then revives some of its objectionable features in Clause 3(2), the provision instituting the stirring up offence." And goes on further to say, "The proposed extended collection of stirring up offences, all to be grave crimes carrying a potential sentence of up to 7 years, more than the maximum penalty for theft on indictment in the Sheriff Court, we regard as a grave threat to freedom of speech without any counterbalancing justification." And, as has already been pointed out, this Scottish law could reach south of the border and snatch anyone. A content creator or publisher could publish something that ends up in front of the people of Scotland. Next thing they know, a policeman from England and Wales or Northern Ireland hands you your letter of rights for cross-border arrest and says that you're being held without a warrant under Section 137A of the Criminal Justice and Public Order Act 1994. After which you could be dispatched to Scotland for trial, if the Criminal Justice and Public Order Act 1994 is amended to accommodate that new Scottish law, or something along those lines, and it could happen to you even if you had absolutely no intention of causing any offence. And the main problem is that most reports to the police would probably be based more on politics than on hurty feelings. And it could turn Scotland and potentially the UK into a non-creative wasteland. Just what the Marxists dream of. Oh, are Marxists protected? Anyway, if you want to hear more from me, please don't forget to subscribe and also press that little bell, or you won't get any notifications. And if you want to see more of me, buy a mug with my mug on it. So what do you think about this assault on free expression? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.